This is the Ground Game Podcast, where we cover politics from the ground up. Here are your hosts, Tom Lobianco and Patrick Pfingsten.
Hello, I'm Tom Lobianco. I'm one of the hosts of the Ground Game Podcast. Patrick is out. Him and his wife, they just had a beautiful new baby. And sitting in today is one Mr. Rick Wilson. You might know him as host of the Lincoln Project podcast, co-founder of the Lincoln Project, author of numerous books, including Everything Trump Touches Dies, and a man who is known, I would say, pretty famously for being able to pipe directly into Trump's brain space. Rick, thank you for being on.
Good morning. Good afternoon. How are you, my friend?
What's up, man?
You know, we're just preparing for the next round of festivities here with Trump. We, contrary to a lot of folks, we still think, you know, this is a fight to protect American institutions, the rule of law, the Constitution, you know, the representative government, those minor things that conservatives pretend they used to pretend they believed in. We think it's still important to protect those. And so we're gearing up to fight a bunch of these appointments and nominations. We're gearing up to fight some of these policy decisions that we think are profoundly unconservative. They're statist and authoritarian and kleptocratic, and they look a lot more like Russia during the Yeltsin years than they do like America in our 250th anniversary.
Well, that's moderately optimistic, right? Russia under Yeltsin as opposed to Russia under Putin.
Yeah, but the problem is the Yeltsin part ended pretty harsh.
Like, are we going to have actual false flag operations coming out of this? Like what happened with the what was it, the Chechnya thing, which Putin put together?
Well, I mean, anytime you can always tell when Trump has a down moment in his polling, because suddenly at Fox News, the caravans are coming. 47 million people charging the border armed with knives. It's always the caravans are the strongest indicator of a down cycle of Trump polling. It's like the swallows to Capistrano in the springtime. They're always coming back, man.
Well, I mean, we bring up aliens. I'm kind of wondering if aliens are the new aliens.
Aliens are kind of maybe the new aliens. I mean, my favorite one is it's an Iranian drone mothership. Okay, sure.
Not bad.
Sure. Okay, not bad.
As Iran goes, you know, that's pretty good.
I mean, I just want to know what type of mothership it is. Is it a blimp? Is it a satellite? Is it a spaceship? I'm fascinated by the bizarre nature of it.
Yeah, where are these these empire destroyers? You know, like that's what I'm looking for.
Right? I want those. Those things are like much more fun than the simple shitty Occam's razor excuses. It's dickheads with drones.
Right, you would think that it being New Jersey, this, you know, that would be ever clear. That's the case, you know. Like,
yeah, one would think.
So I was listening to the most recent episode of The Enemies List, which you host, and it was very apropos to us reporters or journalists, because you talk about how you fought and won a defamation lawsuit filed by Mike Flynn.
Yep.
How did you do this? And why did ABC not do this?
Well, look, I did it by spending a fuck ton of my own money. And yes, by the way, folks, not Lincoln Project, not some super PAC, not some outside sugar daddy. I had to write a fucking of a lot of checks to defend myself. But here's the real principle of it. ABC, and I told you this a lot, like, please don't conflate my critique here of the management decision at the corporate level of ABC with a critique of the network's news gathering and its journalism, because I think they have some phenomenal reporters and phenomenal editorial folks that are really, really good. But at the corporate level, and actually even above ABC's ownership group level, it was, you know, by the mothership of Disney and everybody else that they were worried about not being able to make deals. They were worried about getting the government up their ass about any kind of sales or acquisitions. They were worried about Trump taking personal revenge on board members. They were worried about their idea that Donald Trump was the alligator that would eat them last. And the alligator always comes to eat you no matter what. You can feed it all day, but once you're out of chicken wings or whatever you're throwing off the end of the dock, it's going to crawl on the dock and eat you. And so, my own experience here, look, and I don't have billions of dollars laying around, but I have means. Certainly, I have resources, but this is still something the average person could not do.
Yeah,
get that. The average person could not afford to do what I did. And I get that. It's not easy, by the way. It's many, many zeros in this lawsuit. And I will get them back. I will get them back because the court has ordered him, or ordered the lower court to collect my fees. That's the slap provision in Florida law. They're going to fight it. Mike Flynn's going to say, I'm just a simple retired military man living on a pension. I'm so poor. We know he's got money. We've already dug into a lot. His mailing list is worth millions of dollars. He has, all these companies, all these PACs, all this. We're going to get our legal fees back. But again, I shouldn't have to spend a year and a half of my life with $10 million lawsuits hanging over my head for engaging in legitimate political speech and engaging in First Amendment speech, protected political speech.
Yeah.
And they would like to shut people up. They would like to shut people like me up. They would look, the thing they want most is capitulation.
Right.
They want you to bend the knee and go, Donald Trump is the greatest thing since prepared mustard. Donald Trump can come and fuck my dog. Donald Trump shits gold nuggets, whatever it is, right? They want you to capitulate. That's their greatest joy.
Right.
If you don't capitulate, they want to beat you and humiliate you and bankrupt you and drag you through, a year and a half of stress and tension and shit. And look, it's stressful. Even for me, a guy who is notoriously thick-skinned, somebody who has been through the ringer a lot on terrible, terrible things in my career, it's still nerve-wracking. It still hurts your family, hurts your life, hurts your health. And that's why they do it.
Yeah. Well, and I remember you talking about this shortly before the election. I mean, you have been a victim of swatting
Multiple times. Yep.
I wonder, I'm, able to think back to the heady days of 2016 where this was an abnormality, where Russia climbing into the US elections and grabbing a perch through Facebook was an anomaly, but now it feels like permanent warfare.
It is. And you have to play the game you're in, not the game you want to be in. And the game we're in is post rule of law, post settling your differences in the political space alone. It has now become very much the politics of intense abuse of state power to punish your enemies. And they're promising more of the same. If Kash Patel is the head of the FBI, he is going to use the resources of the United States government for political persecutions, not prosecutions, of Donald Trump's real and perceived enemies. He is going to use Trump will use the power of the Internal Revenue Service, of regulatory agencies, of the DOJ, across the spectrum, because he will say, that person is my enemy. And since his agencies will be stocked with people who don't have the ability to say no to him, or the inclination to say no to him, you're going to see a lot of people. Look, they're saying they're going to, they're trying to go after Liz Cheney right now.
Right.
You know what? There's a part of me that's like, fucking arrest us already. Just go for it. Let's give it a shot.
See what happens.
How it works out. I mean, and a lot of Trump's people don't believe that there's a limit for him, but there is a limit. And Tom, I'll tell you why. Every second term sucks. Every president's second term goes sour. It's ironic that people think that you just get a second term and it always goes well. Think about it.
Yeah.
Think about it. I can go. Let's just go back. Let's just go back to Nixon. Second term, not good. Okay. Ronald Reagan, second term, not good. Okay. George H.W. Bush, Bill Clinton, second term, not good. George H.W. Bush, second term, not good. Barack Obama, second term, not good. Not as bad as the others, but still not good. And the idea that Trump has this puissant figure, this all-powerful figure, because he controls the Republican base, will probably cost him the House in 2026.
Yeah.
It may cost him the House before then, by the way. But Trump's image of the guy who always wins, who's got everything under control, that no one will defy him, it's also going to run into something I think that has been an underscored thing so far. The House is very closely divided. The Republican caucus in the House is fractious as hell. The Senate has two caucus inside the caucus, and one of them are a bunch of sort of team normie Republicans who like, I love Trump, sure, yeah, okay, but they don't really.
Yeah.
And what Trump and his fans have miscalculated and do not understand is they're about to set Elon Musk loose with the Doge. Elon and Vivek are coming to say, we're cutting this, we're cutting that, we're moving this money from here to there. Guess what? There's a reason. And by the way, when I was a young, eager appointee at the Department of Defense working for that Dick Cheney fella back in the dawn of time, I had to learn a lesson one day. I was sitting in a meeting with legislative affairs, and they're like, well, this thing on the B-2 bomber, so we make part of it here, and we make the other part of it in this district, and the other part of it in that district, and the other part of it in this other district, and then it's assembled in this district, then it's painted in that district, then it's quality checked in another district. These motherfuckers do not understand, Tom, that they're about to stick their dick in procurement shit for the Department of Defense and NASA and everywhere else. And these members of Congress who may say they love Donald Trump, the minute you say to them, yeah, by the way, we're taking away those 3,600 jobs in your district or your state, they're going to slit that fucker's throat like he's a stuck pig. They're going to go absolutely buck wild on him. I can't wait. And these people don't get it. Look, I'm all for cutting the size and scope and cost of government.
Yeah.
But you have to do it in a holistic way. They think they're going to go in and play these games with these people. I have never seen anything like the passionate fire, the hatred of a billion suns, the people who try to take away a defense program, Republican or Democrat, no matter who or where, whatever their political inclination is. If there's something being built in their district by people who get a paycheck, they're going to fight you until the last dog dies.
Oh my God. I have heard this before. You know, at 24 Site News, we just launched Ian Walters, who used to be at CPAC for many years, is writing a column called The Bourgeoisie, very apropos of the time.
Nice.
Had a great teardown of the Doge recently. And I have talked with a number of folks here around DC who have said very similar. You know, like, okay, you're going to come in, you know, especially regarding Elon Musk, who is known for, you know, coming in and breaking things, but that's not an easy thing to do, you know, the same way it is, you know, like 25 years ago, flying over to Russia, trying to buy ICBMs, and then flying, you know, landing in Brownsville, Texas, and just being like, yeah, whatever, so we'll just build it ourselves. You know, it's not nearly the same thing.
Look, the Doge is a prank. It's a stunt. It's a scam. It's a flim flam. It's a, as my grandmother would say, a layover to catch meddlers. It's an old Scottish phrase. all of it is performative bullshit. It's not real. They're not going to really do what they say they're going to do because they can't. But you should also recognize that part of this is they're going to do a lot of these things, and they're not to cut the spending. They're to move the spending. They're to say, okay, well, we don't think that Boeing should be doing this. Let's give it to SpaceX instead. And a lot of that, I think, is going to come out to show you it's going to be the sort of carnival of corruption that they're saying that they're going to do outright. They're not even playing about it. They're not even pretending they're not going to do it. They're going to do it, and they're telling us they're going to do it. So I just think there's a lot less. I think it's a lot less of a smooth running course for Trump in the legislative side of it. Look, he can do a lot of stuff with executive orders, and that's going to happen. A lot of it will be stupid. Right. A lot of it will be cruel. A lot of it will be crazy. But the entire premise of Trump right now is to say, okay, we're going to do all these things that are going to make the base happy, and that base will never disappear. They'll never be disloyal to us, even though a lot of what he's going to do is going to hurt the base. I mean, if we're going to end up with tariffs that are going to, raise the price of everything at Walmart by 30%. And things like that. All of it adds up, I think, in a way that isn't anticipated yet by his allies, but is going to end up with some very negative downstream consequences.
Do you think, so much of this election, we talk about this is, came down to the price of eggs, right?
Yep.
Like, will people notice this? Like, will this partisan, podcasting algorithm environment that exists out there, one half of America or less really, be able to wash that away when people are going to the store and feeling?
Yeah, I don't think we've yet counted in the potential that the market will correct badly on the subject of tariffs. I think there's a real possibility that tariffs are going to end up being, even if they are limited in scope, even if there are carve-outs and exemptions, I think there's still a possibility the market has a very bad reaction to it. And you end up in a country that doesn't look like it's got a super strong economy. You end up in a country that looks like, chaos is gonna rule the day. And that's not a great recipe right now.
I think about this often as, we've all been doing the Trump thing for whatever this is for a decade now.
Fucking decade. I'm old. I was young when it started. I'm old now.
Mother Mary.
Yeah. Tired.
I feel like I have gotten very good though at I used to have a churn of covering executives where it's I would only cover them for about 4 years and then move on to a new one.
Sure.
I feel like I've gotten pretty good at understanding his game in particular. For instance, Ron DeSantis, here's the float from Trump world. Ron DeSantis 100% going to replace Pete Hegseth. That lasts for, 72 hours, something like that. And then people forget about it.
Well, you know why he didn't, right? He wouldn't make the deal about Laura.
That's right.
That's what they wanted. That's what Trump wanted. If Ron DeSantis had said, Laura Trump will be the greatest United States senator that Florida could possibly have, Pete Hegseth would be out right now working at a fucking Chick-fil-A. Would you like waffle fries with that? I mean, there's absolutely no question that the dynastic fantasy that Ron DeSantis could have enabled for Trump would have put him in the SecDef job. And here's the thing. I will say this. I have many issues with Tiny D, but he would certainly not be as much of a disaster as Party Boy Pete. I mean, there would be some downside to it, certainly, but Hegseth is, but DeSantis is at least a rational, chordate life form who wouldn't be a complete fuck up, on day one.
Why does it, speaking of Florida, which you know so well,
Sadly.
why does Jared Moskowitz have their number so well? He really gets it.
Yeah, he gets them. No, I love Jared. He's very smart. He does understand their bullshit, and he does understand their gamesmanship. And like the fact that they floated him for FEMA head this week, and he said, "Get the fuck out of here." I think was pretty telling. He knew it was a prank from the start, and he's just a guy who is a social media native, a digital native. He gets that stuff very clearly and well, and there are those of us who know how to fuck with Trump. Trump's greatest joy is fucking with people, right? His greatest joy by far. Yeah. He loves fucking with people. And there are only a handful of people in the world who can actually fuck back. And Jared's one of them.
Why aren't there more?
I think it's partly aesthetic. If you're going to fight with people like Trump, you're not always going to end up being, considered one of the nice people. And you know what? If making an accommodation with the sort of, and I know people get very upset now if you say the F word and call him a fascist, but if you're going to be worried about people calling you, ugly or mean or excessive or cruel when you're fighting somebody like Donald Trump, if you're worried about that, you're going to pull your punches. And look, a lot of our Democratic friends and allies, they do have a certain mental block of understanding things. It's like, why haven't you read my 600-page paper on climate change? I don't understand why you wouldn't. Because policy doesn't win shit about shit in this country. Policy doesn't do things that move people. And if it did, we'd be in a different world. But we don't. It doesn't. It doesn't work that way. And a lot of Democrats believe they're going to win on policy. And I've had such well-meaning, nice people that I know, donors and activists and smart people, like, well, why can't we just do beat him on an issue everyone cares about, like gun control or climate change or abortion? It's because America's kind of really weirdly post-issue right now.
Yeah.
We don't really fight about issues in the way that we once fought about issues. They don't really have the same salience they once did. It's vibes and feels and all this other, like, kind of weirdly, we're post a lot of things in this country.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel rational, but it's real. I mean, we don't live in the same world where we used to go and fight about, like, marginal tax rates. Should the top rate be 36.2 or 38.1? It used to be like people would get like really hyped and jazzed up about that kind of stuff. And now it's like, will you kill my opponent for me in the most brutal and humiliating way? And the person who says yes tends to win the fight.
I mean, I'm half tempted to ask, what's her name? Taylor, MTG, Marjorie Taylor Greene.
Mm-hmm.
Like, when the skeet shooting in New Jersey is going to happen? Like, right? Okay, like, are you going to do this or not? Like,
yeah, show me. Yeah, you got to shoot the drones down. Go shoot them down. Let's
go for it.
Play it out, baby. Play it out.
What happens if it was Iranian? What happens then?
Listen, like I said, Occam's razor is your friend, and local assholes with drones is Occam's most earnest and simple conclusion here. It's not aliens. It's never aliens. It's always never ever been fucking aliens. But I wish it was aliens. That'd be fun, man. That would really like spice up the holiday season.
Hell yeah, man. So, we had on your colleague, Mike Madrid, Patrick and I, just before the election. And I have to tell you, of the interviews that we've done, that one aged exceptionally well post-election.
Yeah. No, Mike has been warning Mike has been warning for years now. Republicans are going to pick up Hispanic men if Democrats don't change their goddamn tune about the economy.
Yeah.
He's been telling us over and over again. He has never hesitated on that point. He's always been right about it. And the crazy thing is, there are still, I've had this conversation with dozens of Democratic activist types since the election. And there are still people who are like, why did we lose Hispanic men? Because it's about economy and culture. It's about the economy and culture. It's not just about the imaginary fight that you think you're in. It's about the real fight.
Yeah.
And, Mike Madrid, like I said, he has never pulled a punch on that matter. He has said it 1,000 times, and woe be unto the Democrats who don't listen to Mike as we go forward here, because this is a really important issue. And until we figure out as an opposition party or as an opposition movement that this matters, I think we're in trouble.
Yeah. Well, how do you do that? Because so much of this seemed to be, not just culture and framing, how you're talking about things, but actually being on the right platforms.
Sure.
Like the sports podcasters won't have on anybody center left.
And that, my friend, is half this battle. We are in a world where the left is the center left is either going to make its own media. And I don't just mean MSNBC, and I don't just mean, like Air America 2.0. They're going to have to make their own media in the spaces that people are actually listening to things, on viewing things and engaging on. That is something that, I've learned it by hosting 2 podcasts a week and guesting on one. The people will find you if you're talking their language, if you're in the space that they're in, if you're talking about what they're talking about, they will find you. The audience will come. But again, that audience does not want every single show to be snippy or whiny or arrogant about policy, or like, if only those stupid people would understand. There are a profound number of stupid people in this world. They really are. They're probably a majority. I mean, they're clearly a non-zero portion of the population. But that idea that you're going to either rely on the old structure, cable TV.
Yeah. Right.
I had to talk a group the other day that came to me for some advice. They're like, well, we want to write up an op-ed for the New York Times. I'm like, do you? That is charming. I find that so charming. Are you also gonna, go out and thresh the field with your horse-drawn wagon? It's just not the world we live in anymore.
Yeah.
And being like, oh, well, we're going to release something on broadcast television. Oh, really? Are you? How nice for you. If I ever run into their goddamn broadcast TV ad, I'll be shocked, because it has become so inefficient.
Interesting.
And so underperforming relative to, look, on digital media, I can target individual people. I know who I'm talking to.
Wow.
Why would I spend 10 or 15 times the money on broadcast television? Cable is dying. Broadcast is dead. I mean, look, does it still have an impact? Sure it does. But in politics, you need to work with a scalpel, not with a sledgehammer.
Yeah.
Broadcast TV, still kind of a sledgehammer.
Wow. You know what I have to say? I was flipping through our shorts on YouTube, and I saw a portly gentleman who appeared to look very much like me, and I was like, my God, they've hacked my equipment. What the hell is this? And I froze, and it did look an awful lot like me. Friggin' the advertising had determined that I needed some weight loss drugs. they found somebody that
Yep.
like I was like,
Oh,
whoa.
I know. Listen. You should learn. Everybody should learn this weirdly painful lesson. There is no privacy in the world. Not a single lick of privacy anywhere at all anymore. And in politics, the idea that you're going to be able to profile people was originally called micro-targeting.
Yeah.
And now it's not micro-targeting. Now the original micro-targeting discussions were like, well, we'll be able to peer into this zip code and see how people behave. Zip code, get the fuck out of here. We're targeting individual households and individuals in those individual households now with messages.
Wow.
And understanding that is kind of fundamental to understanding where politics is going to go. Trump is a macro candidate on a lot of levels, but he's also a guy who had enough people around him who understood the power of digital targeting. And so you saw that Transad get 1 billion views because they understood that Transad had some very significant, hefty political impact with certain people. So they targeted African-American men, and they targeted Hispanic men, and they targeted young white men, and they targeted those people because the ad and the message worked on them. And they didn't have they still spent a lot of money on the big media stuff, on the broadcasts and whatever, but none of that stuff is ever coming back to the way it was.
Yeah, it's immaterial. It just it's over. Okay, so Rick, can you give us an idea of how you're going to be micro-targeting on, say, the Tulsi Gabbard nomination?
Sure. Well, one thing we're targeting the individual members of the U.S. Senate. That's a really key, key thing to understand here is that micro-targeting is to express to them just how much they have at stake by supporting somebody who is a Assad/Putin fangirl. That it's not a good look, that it's going to cost them politically in the end. And we think that that is going a lot better than a lot of people who oppose her think right now. There is some really significant doubt about her in this in the Senate. They know Trump's going to lose a couple of these, and if it's her, the Senate's not. They think their calculus is that Trump won't be as angry with losing her as he would be with losing RFK or Pete Hegseth.
Interesting. Yeah, I've gotten that sense as well. That it's I'm not sure the Hegseth this heat shield thing really works. That seems like a lot of bluster, frankly.
Yeah, I think that's right too.
So Rick Wilson, where do we find your work?
Well, I am on, of course, the replacement for the Twitter machine, Blue Sky.
Nice.
I am on Threads. You can find me also on the Gram. I am occasionally still on Twitter. I just show up to Twitter these days as again, to quote one of my grandmother's quotes, to drop a turd in the punch bowl. And it caused them some misery and pain. So that's where I'm on Twitter these days. And of course, I have my Substack, the Rick Wilson, and I have the Lincoln Project podcast, the Enemies List podcast. I stream on The Breakdown every Thursday night. I stream on Strategy Session on Tuesday nights, and I'm on the Monday edition every week of Molly Jong Fast podcast. And other than that, I have not much going on.
Rick, thank you so much for being on the Ground Game Pod, man.
Anytime, my friend. We'll talk again soon.
Hell yeah.
All right.